Hey folks, Frank the Pestgeek here. Happy Sunday to you. There's a little glare on my, I don't know if it's my camera or the sun. Sun's hitting from that side, which is kind of odd, but anyway, happy Sunday. Hope you guys are doing well. Doing another session of the 12 Ds. This week I got here a Macanudo Inspirato. I'm gonna give this a cut and join you guys for a little while. I got enough there on my lighter. Took some time off this week. I've been dealing with a knee injury, and on top of that, I've been dealing with a lot of stress, a lot of issues where things over the last year it's been a brutal year, personally, not business wise, not financially, just stressors that happens eventually. It's just that when you're dealing with the pressure of the home of the business, the demands of the business, and then you add on it to personal pressure, plus you add other personal pressure, and things compound. You've got the perfect storm for burnout, which is what is happening to workers across the country. They're experiencing burnout, especially frontline workers. When we talk about frontline workers, we're thinking about those medical caregivers. I mean, they've had to deal with the whole COVID epidemic, the staff shortage, the longer hours, the death that they're experiencing, not to mention the stress in their own personal life. I mean, we forget that these people have families, that they have children too. They got husbands, they got mothers, they got in-laws, and that they were affected personally by COVID. People have died in their family, kids being out of school, and they having to deal with balancing this. There is no work-life balance for these medical professionals, for doctors, for people, first responders, and a lot of the frontline people take that now to the workplace, where I lost one employee. I mean, that's 33% of our staff was gone. One employee, 33% more work for me. I have to, I was working 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 40 hours a week, 40 something. I had cut my hours back drastically from 70, 80, and 90 and 100 hours. And then all of a sudden quits the same day my mother passes away. Had to deal with all that. So stressors of everybody's feeling it. And we're going to be discussing a lot of it in the 12 Ds of doing, of achieving the things you want to achieve, but understand that the system, there's a system, the world system that we're involved in. The system is not designed to make it easy. The system is trapping a lot of people, and a lot of people are trying to figure out a way how to get out of that system, how to get out of that 40-hour, 9-to-5 rigid, the 50, 60-hour weeks for managers and middle managers. You've got mothers who have decided, I got my children at home, I don't want them in school, I don't want them in public school, I don't want to vaccinate them, I'm dealing with all these issues, that too many unknowns, and they decided it's much easier for me to stay home and raise my kids. Or the wife makes more money than the husband, and the husband is not going back to work. He's at home taking care of the kids. He decided to take a gig job that pays him a little bit, but the cost of sending them to daycare, he doesn't want them in daycare because they're exposed. Whether you think it's right, whether you think it's wrong, whether it's indifferent, it doesn't matter. It's their family, their feelings. I respect people's opinion, regardless of whether I might agree with it or not. I spent 6 months with my son at home during the COVID epidemic with me. Plus, I was running the business. Thank God that I was able to stay home and work from home. And then everything shifted, everything changed. So people are applying for business licenses. There's 24% more people applying for business license during 2021 and 2020 than in 2017, 2018. Yeah, here, look at it. Oh, if I rotate. Oh, that's a beauty. Yeah. Tasty. Long access to you. Cheers. I'm enjoying. I decided to try this. This is it's a bourbon and Old Forester. Everybody's talking about Old Forester. Let me try. It's not an expensive one. It's you know, it's drinkable. It's okay. It's not, you got to water it down a bit. It's 86 proof. I didn't get the 100 proof. I don't do 100 proof liquor. It's just too hard for me. I don't like it. Water it down a bit. Enjoy it with a nice square ice, a cube ice, but it's a square ice for liquor that I have. That's my ice tray. My daughter has her own ice tray, which is, I forget what character she has. And I got my own ice tray. Our refrigerator dispenses ice. My son uses that one. So in record numbers, and there is a correlation between worker burnout and why people want to get out of the workplace, the workforce. I'm going to be talking more about that on the next episode. And then we're going to be able to see the correlation. For those of us who are employers, we're going to have to adapt and change to this. I really don't think wholeheartedly that this trend that we're seeing of the exodus of employees, it's going to slow down. It's going to change. People are going to start coming back to work, But for a lot of people, and I mean a lot, that I'm estimating, they're not coming back to work in the traditional sense. And they're going to work. They're just not going to work in the traditional sense. I want to look at doing. And doing is one of the most challenging things. Let me make sure I got my notes. I got my internet here. Because I was working on this week. And let me go back. Let me refresh this document. Reconnecting will take longer than usual, yada, yada, yada. Oh, this is not what I'm talking about. This is another document that I was working on, doing a Bible study this week, which I'm going to publish soon. It should be up in the next couple of days. As you know, I also teach Bible, and realizing, what I'm good at, what I'm happy doing, what fulfills me, are all things that every human being is looking for. The reason that when I talk to most guys, and it's mostly guys that I talk to, I mean, about, if I have 100 conversations, one might be with a woman. Pest control predominantly is a male business. I wish more women did get involved. We talked about decisiveness last week. Being decisive, and decisive is not jumping into something head first without really doing the research. Decisiveness is doing the research making a decision, and then doing it. And I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Right behind me, you notice in that corner right there, I pulled it out last night because I had to spray that whole area. Mosquitoes were in that area. And I'm doing a test where I've got IntuCare installed. I got IntuCare in the front. I'm using an ATSB bait, but for some reason it's taking too long. This is a townhouse, it's not a really big property. I probably got, my backyard is probably 1,000 square feet, but I've got all that open backyard back there. Let me see if I can swing that around so that you can see it. You're going to see my grill. Say this is my backyard. And I've got a lake. I've got a lake right there. And got a 4-lane road there. But I've got a lake right there. I've got open area. I'm doing testing right now because I get so many calls. Townhouses are big in South Florida. And I want to talk to you about testing and about doing and about implementing and the reality of how long that's going to take. And if I see anything with people of why they're not doing or they'll try to do, is because they get impatient. They think that if they tried something, why didn't it work? They saw 100 videos on it, and they saw a dozen videos, 100 videos, and they've researched and they read all the documents. Why is it that they go and they try it and it doesn't work for them? And that research and development is code word. Understand it's research and development. And development takes time. There are things that I've been working on in development for 14 years. When I first started this business, this wasn't the original business. Nature Pest, my company, was what I envisioned it would be, but it took 7 years before I could get that done. The whole time, I had a pest control company who also I had a pool service business, I had a landscape business, I had a handyman business that we did home services and we repaired things for people. The whole time, I was running 4 businesses. I had employees and I had crews and I had subcontractors. But the whole time, since I got into this business in 2006, this is why doing isn't necessarily, and I've titled this From Doing to Done. From doing to done, and then growing and then doing other things could take you 5, 6, 7, 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, 20 years. Most people can't see past a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of failures before they give up on things. We live in a society that is spoiled in the sense that they expect everything to be instantaneous. Like I want to do research on a book. I can download any book I want through Amazon, Kindle. I can listen to it. I can go to YouTube and look. I'm looking at 100 videos right now. I've listened to about maybe 40 hours of videos about MIG and TIG welding because I got to build this rig for one of our vehicles, and there is nobody that's ever done it. I've called everyone. Nobody's done a rig like this. I said, I went to a welding shop 2 weeks ago. And the guy says, well, why don't you just go to a welding shop and have them weld it? I says, you don't understand. This is a $15,000 build out inside a van of equipment that nobody's ever done. And in a welding shop, if I tell a guy, look, weld 2 of these pieces together for me, this broke, I can go to any welding shop in Miami and they'll weld it for me. For me to find someone that can work with me on designing this rig and building it the way I want it built for the purposes, nobody's done it here in South Florida. Even the companies that do conversions for this, they do these setups, have never done it. They don't know what I'm trying to do. So I have to build it. Now, I am self-taught in everything I do. I know how to arc weld. I know how to spot weld. I know how to cut with a torch. I've done it before. But I've never MIG welded or TIG welded And so I was discussing with this as well. He didn't want to give me any info. He says, you guys, you buy all this. You're not a professional welder. You're not a company. You guys will go and buy all the equipment somewhere else and then, not buy it from me. And I'm not going to give you the free advice. And I go to my phone and I said, look, here's my website. Here's my YouTube channel. I've got 7,000 subscribers. I give more information away on a daily basis than you will give away here in a month. I'm doing this $15,000 build out. I'm willing to spend the money on good equipment to buy it. And then later he had to apologize and said, I'm sorry. I just get everybody that comes in here and they get all this information and then they'll go to, Norton Tool or they'll go to, what's his other Harbor Freight and they'll buy it there. And I said, well, look, I don't know what I need to buy. So why don't you just tell me what I need? Give me a budget. I'm willing to spend $2,000 on all the equipment I need. He says, you're going to need to spend more than that because I only sell Miller. Why is he only selling one brand? So he says, honestly, for what you want to do, how you want to do it and all this, honestly, the best thing is to go to Norton, buy the Vulcan, the 215. That has all the right measurements. And he started talking. I said, well, I'll buy the other stuff. I'll buy the argon gas from you. I got to buy that somewhere. So I'll buy it from you. I'll buy the $300 gallon tank and, I'll buy all the other stuff from you. But I'm supposed to spend about 40 hours watching. And when I say it's 40 hours, I'm driving around town and I'm listening to these guys talk about the welding and the electrical and all this. And then I'll sit at home on a Saturday and I'll watch one or two videos. A couple of hours worth of videos. Then doing my research. Now I still have to go. I'm going to go to a place that I normally buy all my aluminum from. And I'm going to buy pieces of aluminum. And I'm going to sit there one Saturday afternoon and play around welding pieces, learning how to weld a nice weld. I know how to do it because I've done it with arc. I've done it with a stick. I know how to weld. I know how to weld nice metal. I've done it before. So, but I still have to do so much research. I still had to go get a consultation. I still had to buy the equipment. And now I bought it. I bought all the equipment. I bought the welder. I bought a nice MIG welder. I bought a real gun because the aluminum doesn't go well through. You have to buy the gun. And I bought, the helmet. I bought everything, all the equipment. So I can build this rig out. The thing is, I like manual work. I like doing different things. Who knows if this turns into where I get to build custom rigs for people here in South Florida? Because there's only one guy doing it. He sucks. And that's why I won't go to him. Everybody tells me, bro, why don't you take it as advice? Have you seen his work, how sloppy it is? He says, yeah, but he's cheap. I said, yeah, but I don't want cheap. I want right. I want good. So from implementing what I envisioned. Now, this is a rig that I have envisioned for the last 6 years, by the way. I've been designing it for my next rig that I'm going to buy because this is going to be a vehicle, a van, that does GHP, General Household Pest. It does lawn and ornamental. It does termite, but it also has 2 tanks. So this thing is going to have 4 tanks, one water tank, which is a drop tank, plus 4 tanks. That's how you going to get all that in a van? Because you don't understand. I've developed the system. How long did it take me to develop that system? It took me 10 years to develop that system. Where people told me, you can't do lawns with that amount of water. I said, but we do it all the time and we developed it. I must have used 1 million gallons of natural oil spray, finished gallons, natural oil, before I had developed my organic lawn system. How long did that take? 7 years. From the time I had the vision to build an eco-friendly company back in 2007, it wasn't until 2014 that I could actually do it. Because in 2007, I sat down with PhDs, manufacturers reps, people who were actually doing organics for nurseries and farms. And they said, it can't be done, Frank. This is, why can't it be done? It says the products aren't labeled for residential use. These manufacturers have to relabel all this, and they're not going to do it because there's no market for it. My vision was ahead of my time. I started working on it. I bought the first line of EcoSmart that came out. I spent like $1,500 on the entire line, testing all the products. It took me 7 years of testing products, organic products, products that have that are not natural, they're not organic, but borates, how to use borates in all different kind of scenarios to replace pyrethroids and synthetics. And during that whole time I'm testing different things. I'm running the businesses and I'm doing tests and I'm giving away free services and I'm doing market research. And it wasn't when I did I used to have on my side table at home a stack about that high. Must have been over 2,000-3,000 pages of contracts, franchise contracts. I was learning the language. I would sit there and read these contracts for fun because I was trying to understand the franchise legal mentality. See, the people all the time says, well, if I start a franchise, should I charge 7% or 5% or this or that? And they're asking all the wrong questions. They don't understand the industry. I wanted to understand the legal mentality of a franchise and how to word it. Later, I spent $8,000, $10,000 on getting all the documents done, only to realize that I didn't have enough to do a franchise because what I needed was at least 2 working locations that I could prove the concept in. This van was a vision of mine for 6 years, how to build it out. This is going to do termite, lawn, organic shrubs, GHP. I went to a company that builds these out. And the guy said, you need this truck, and you need basically a tree truck, and you need it closed with all the doors. And how much is this? Well, it's $120,000. He showed me the design, did it for me and everything. I said, bro, there's no way I can do $120,000. I put in the time. Research development takes time. It takes patience. It just doesn't happen overnight. Like, well, how are you controlling this? I said, bro, understand that I had to test all these products, the Centria, Ecovia line. I tested all the products to develop our system. Now I have a system. Now I'm proving that anybody can do my system. Now I'm proving that people want my system, but it wasn't until 2014 that people actually wanted. Why? When I did the research back in 2007, only 4% of people were buying organic products as a whole. That's talking about food, that's talking about laundry detergent, that's talking about cleaners, that's talking about household products. 50% of people said they wanted organic, but reality is only 4% were actually buying it. It wasn't until we got into that 10, 12, 13% that I could jump in, where there was already an acceptance in the marketplace and people were demanding it. Here we are 6 years later, and we're actually growing this. Companies that started back in the 80s haven't gotten past 4 technicians. So from dreaming about it to doing the research to testing through implementation to doing and now scaling has been 15 years for me. Overnight success, people are like, but wow, man, you're doing all this organic stuff, and how are you doing? I had companies calling me wanting to learn how to do it. I said, well, the problem is you don't have the culture in your company because you're going to sell it as a me-too product. You don't have a passion for this. You don't have a devotion for this. Your people are not going to be devoted because it takes twice the work. I had to charge. I can only sell it to the top 1%. Now we're selling to the top 10%. Eventually, our business will be mainstream, where we're selling to the 80%, and that's probably another 10 years down the line. As market demand grows, we want to be on the cutting edge. What that station is behind me is a test. It's a rodent station modified as an eco-friendly insect station because they don't exist. What do you mean they don't exist? They got little stations all the time. Yeah, put a station in a yard where you have a landscape crew like this that comes here, which the landscape crew doesn't even speak English. And they just go in and rush to get everything done and hit everything with a weed eater, run it over with their lawnmowers, and see if it doesn't get destroyed. That right there will hold about 12 ounces of liquid, which will last about a month because it's in there. It's not going to evaporate. And now I got a perfect property to go test it on. But I've been testing stations. Go back to my Nature Pest, where I'm using B&G stations 6 years ago to control carpenter ant and ghost ants and control all kinds of ants without any outdoor spray. Just nothing with using granular bait outside and using stations. 7 years of doing research. I'm researching a product now that we've been in the 3rd year of development and processing, testing this product because we're going to create our own line of products for ourselves to compete. But we're only going to use it for ourselves. We're not going to retail it. Because it gives us a huge advantage when nobody else has the product. 3 years, three summers of testing this product. So that we can do it. So from doing, do you have the patience to work on it little by little? I mean, I've got 3 experiments going on. I got a fly station where I'm testing my own fly bait. And I got 3 little bottles. And this whole place is an experiment. This whole backyard is an experiment right now on my property. I got Intercare station there and Intercare in the front. I'm testing my product. I'm testing it here. You know, I'm going to set up rodent cameras. I'm going to set up wildlife cameras around this property to see what the rodents are doing. And I'm going to test a rodent repellent that I'm working on my property and mess with it. And that's, 2 to 3 weeks to make it, brew it, and then test it on my property and see how rodents behave around here. Patience. We live in an instant download society that wants everything now. And you know what the detriment is that I'm seeing for people to be happy? I'm doing research all over the world on employee happiness. And while employees are saying, yeah, in Denmark, they work less hours than this, but the cost of living there is so high. So even though the family income is $150,000 a year, the downside is not everybody can make $150,000 a year. So everywhere you go, their happiness. When you look at their happiness, yeah, they're working less hours, they have more flexibility, but when you look at their overall happiness, it's only 2% higher than the rest of the world. People say no because we live in this comparison mentality. Yeah, but if I went to this state, I could do this better. And if I went to here, and what they're doing is looking at what everybody's doing on Facebook. No, because I used to have my employees tell me, yeah, but the company, they're paying 21% and you're only paying 20. I said, yeah, I'm paying 20. But let me get this. I paid you $40-something thousand in the last 12 months. You come in at 8, you're done by 3. You don't work Saturdays. And you get to go home and be home by 4 o'clock. And you could go ride your bike because he was a cyclist. And you don't work Saturdays. You got a take-home vehicle. You know how much they're making? Only $50,000. That's like $5,000 more a year than you're making. But they have to work 50 to 60 hours a week. They got to work Saturdays if they don't get their route done. And sometimes they have to call the customer, set up their own routes, and you got none of that. So yeah, talk to me about the difference of that 1% comparison that you're losing out on. The other thing is that millennials have, and it's this mentality, the fear of missing out. FOM, the fear of missing out. FOMO. We live in a comparison society. Everybody's comparing everything on Facebook. Comparing with this company, with this guy, with this other, and everybody's unhappy because they're comparing themselves to everybody else. I don't compare myself to anybody. I am totally unique. My business is a blue ocean strategy. People are like, but you should be growing at this rate. Compared to what? Telling me how I should be growing and how I should be And that, bro, you can't be happy working all those hours. You can't be happy doing this. And tell you, why can't I be happy doing what I do? I'm happy with my success. I'm happy with what I've accomplished. I've accomplished more in the last 15 years than most people have, than the industry as a whole has, than NPMA has in 100 years of their existence. I have a bigger following. I have more followers on my YouTube channel on IPM than most states have, which IPM in California. What do you mean I haven't? Should I be? How happy should I be? I do what I want to do. This is my pet project. So I told the guy when I did that, same guy that everybody told me I took my first van to, and he said he was going to do this and that and the other. And when I got the van back, I said, oh my God, I feel like scrapping this, walking out of here and telling this guy to go stick it in his ear. I'm going to micromanage this. I'm not going to delegate it because nobody has experience doing. I can only delegate when people already have models and existing models. And going from doing to done takes a lot of research, a lot of time, a lot of work. When you want to do what nobody else has done, you're going to have to micromanage. I learned this from my boss. I worked for the vice president of sales for a $4 billion company. I worked directly under him. And when he took over a department, he would micromanage. It was meetings every single day for a year with the entire staff until everybody was on the same page, and then he stepped away. You can't manage by abdication and walk away from things when you're developing. You got to take a hands-on approach because nobody else knows what I'm doing except me right now. There's a quote from Walt Disney. It says, the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. Walt Disney. You think that guy knows a little something about doing? He was a guy that was fired from his first job. They said he would never amount to anything. He would never be an artist. You know how many people have said, I'll never get this thing off the ground. I'll never do this. I'll never do that. I'll never get going. I'll never grow. I'll never make it, including those in my family. I've heard that all my life. I'm not supposed to be living. Yeah, I beat cancer. Look what the Bible says in Proverbs 14:23. In all toil there is profit, in all work there is profit. But mere talk tends only to poverty. You see people go to Tony Robbins conferences. Listen to Tony Robbins, get all jacked up, scream, jump, they get all pumped up. Man, that conference was great. I just went to a 10X conference by Grant Cardone on 10X. Yeah, man, we're going to 10X this. Only 10% of people ever buy the program. I read the Grant Cardone. I decided I can't 10X right now. Why don't we 3X? 3X is better than 1X. It's not as good as 10X, but doing is more important than talking about it. So Eric, I want you to start publishing 3 days a week. We tried 7. It was brutal for him. And I couldn't afford it because I just didn't have the income to pay him for doing 7 times a week. So now we're publishing our material 3 times a week across 7 social media channels, 3 times a week. Well, anybody can do that, yeah, but you know how many are doing it? You know how many guys I talk to that tell me, bro, I saw your YouTube and I saw this, and bro, how are you getting all these leads from all over the country? And I said, it's very simple, bro. 400 videos, 300 podcasts, 7 years. That's how I'm getting it done. Stop talking about it and start doing it. So you go to the Grant Cardone conference, you go to the Tony Robbins, you buy the book, and you're reading. You say, yeah, but I don't have the time. And that enthusiasm fizzled out. This is why only 1.3% right now, 1% of people ever start a business, only 10% of people own one and are ever successful. I've been successful now for 15 years. I beat the odds. Started my company in 2009 when the market took it down. All of this stuff, bro, that I've been through, people talk to me about like they know something. You haven't been in my shoes. I'm not supposed to be doing anything that I'm doing. I'm not supposed to succeed. I don't have a college degree. As a matter of fact, I'm a high school dropout. I actually didn't drop out of high school. I dropped out of middle school. I dropped out at 16. I had flunked second grade, had ADD, lived with cancer for 10 years, lost my father at 5, was raised by a single mother, lived on welfare, food stamps, $331 a month in SSI, Section 8 housing. Paid for my own college, actually paid it off all my loans, been bankrupt almost twice, never got there, gotten out of it all the time. I'm like a cat. Why? Because I will outwork everybody every single time. I will put in the 60, the 70, the 80, the 100 hours, whatever it takes to prove you wrong every single time. My kids get to see more of me than they see most of their dads. I spend more time with my kids than most dads do because they're on their phone all the time. My kids accuse me of the same thing. So what do? I leave my phone at home when I go out. I'm not on it. Right now, I started working out again because I had to quit for a couple of months. I was under so much stress. I was under so much stuff, but I got right back on it. So I jogged 2 miles this week. This morning, I went for a jog throughout the whole community. People start gym memberships, buy the clothes, and they buy the expensive shoes and the whole outfit. Spend $300, $400, $500 on outfits. Dude, I spent $15 on a pair of shoes, and I get going. Do pull-ups, do push-ups. They're free. You don't have to spend any money to work out. You just got to go work out. I was having a conversation with a guy today at my Bible study, and this guy, we started talking. Everybody's like teasing me, hey, look at all the pastries and stuff. They know I don't eat pastries. I don't eat sugar. I don't eat any of that stuff because I got off of it 4 years ago. And this guy is, 6'1", 6'2". He's weighing about 350 pounds. He says, bro, the reason I gave it all up is I was borderline diabetic. So 4 years ago, 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I did enough research for 6 months on keto. I do a ton of research before I do anything. And I got on keto and I lost 30 pounds in 30 days. I did what the doctors couldn't do in 2 years to reverse my type 2 diabetes. I went from a 6.1, 6.2 A1C to a 5.3 A1C in 30 days. He says, man, I just got diagnosed with diabetes. I said, bro, and his wife brings in this thing of arroz con leche, rice with, pudding. And she's, he's eating all the pastries. And it's, bro, you just got diagnosed with diabetes. You're eating all these pastries. So they're talking, give up the rice, give up the sweets, give up the sugar, get on salad, start eating some meats. If you don't want to do keto, do lean meats. I'm going to have to, bro, I'm on like 6 medications. I think people are all the time say, yeah, but I can't do that. You're on 6 medications. You're going to die. You're artificially being kept alive. And you're telling me I can't give up bread. I can't give up sweets. I can't do any of this. I can't help you. If you say you can, you can. And if you say you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right. So when people do all this, they go through all this, and then they quit. They don't have the remaining 6 Ds that they need, which we're going to be talking about. The remaining 6 Ds. It's, what does it take to get it done? Let's get it done. This is Frank the Pestgeek wishing you a spectacular day.